Hi everybody, my name is Maria Van Vukelis from The Conscious CEO and back for another live. Today what I'll be talking about is how to actually maintain your mental health and physical state when you're feeling emotions of anxiety, fear or stress. And what I'm wanting to do is provide you some neurological hacks, let's say, to get you out of these states due to the physical lockdown. I want to make it as practical as possible for you. So panic at this stage is currently being experienced generally by the general population, and a lot of people are really out of tune in terms of the fact that they are in this particular state. So they tend to ignore the stress responses and the behaviours that are being produced by being in this particular state. So I believe that we can actually do everything really well mentally and physically, and we have the resources and the tools and techniques to know how to do this. Some of you may not have the resources, which is why I'm coming on here to be able to give you something to utilize to get you in a place of the greatest place as possible as you can be. Now, the emotion of stress and fear and panic actually floods our body when we are being triggered or we're bringing this on into our body. And this is what is produced specifically is our stress hormone called cortisol. And this actually affects the immune system by lowering it because there is a lot of extra demand in having to regulate the body and balance it out when we are experiencing this stress hormone on a continuous basis. This lowers the immune system because it increases acidity in the body, and it actually makes you more susceptible and compromises your immune system more so because of this chronic state of being in this stress response. So what we need to do is we need to look at the bigger picture. We need to look at the bigger picture in order to make well-informed decisions rather than just taking on the beliefs of someone else from their perspective and their point of view. And in order to do this, we need to be in a state where we're thinking things in a critical manner to know how to make well-informed decisions and well-informed choices based on our own beliefs and our own thinking. So what I want to do now is I want to show you a slide that I use in my Leadership Accelerator. It is the NLP communication model. The NLP communication model. So I'm just going to share my screen so you can actually have a look. One moment. All right. Fantastic. So the NLP communication model, as you can see, we take in an external event, which is what's happening at the moment. And that's how we actually see the world around us from that perspective, is from this particular event. Now, the information comes in from the event using our 5 senses, which is visual, auditory, kinesthetic, gustatory, and olfactory. And this is what we see, what we hear, what we feel, what we taste, and what we smell. And this information comes in a huge amount of information of 11 million bits per second, right? And we take in this information based on, what we see in the media, social media, the news. We take in this huge amount of information comes into the nervous system. And what we really do is we can't really process 11 million bits. We can actually only filter 126 bits of information based on that 11 million bits outside of us. And we take that information in into the unconscious mind, and we process that based on time, space, and matter. And we create and label our external experience using our beliefs, our values, these things called meta programs, and also our attitudes. And we actually filter those through these particular filters in order to create an internal representation, which is a picture of what we perceive, what we see within our own mind, to label our experience. So we actually need to be able to process this 11 million bits of information. We have to delete, distort, and generalize the information in order to create our experience based on our perception of 126 bits of information. Now, this internal representation is also made up of our self-talk. And this is how we actually, what we say to ourselves and what we communicate to ourselves, and the relationship partly that we have with ourselves, which collates how we actually feel, our mood, and what we are feeling. And that changes based on our internal representation because of the language that we use to speak to ourselves. And in turn, this influences our body language and changes our emotional state. So our state here. And because it has an influence on our state and our physiology, which is our body language, this produces the behaviors, whether you're conscious or unconscious of those, based on what we see from the event that we've actually processed and passed through our filters, which is delete, distort, and generalize. Now, here's the thing, right? Here's the thing. It's pretty simple, and it's just something that you might need to, to get a nudge, to get conscious of about it. And the thing is that by simply changing the way you're feeling can actually change the internal state and the body language that you want to produce. Thus, the behaviors can drastically change by simply making those adjustments. Now, on the other side, here's the problem. The problem is never outside of us that people perceive it to be. It's never outside of you. It's never outside of you, never the external event that you actually perceive as the problem that is causing you to respond in this way. Now, we are experiencing, global circumstances of lockdown, and it is creating this negative internal representation for some people, and that's putting you in a place where you are producing unresourceful states and behaviors based on this. But the thing is that the stress that it's producing is having an effect on how you actually create these new behaviors or to do what you want. And what we need to do is to get clear and in control of the state that you're wanting to produce, and to balance out these behaviors in order to be in control of your own mind and be in control of your own state as well. So how do we actually do this, right? To get the best results. We want to get the best results out of every situation. And to be able to do this, we need to be in control of our own body. And I'm just going to stop sharing in a second. Just give me a second. Okay. All right. So what happens is we get a flood of cortisol in the body. And the cortisol is the stress response, the stress hormone that comes in. And what this does, it can cause either a flight or freeze response. And at the moment, majority of people are in a freeze response. They're doing nothing. They're sitting around and they're waiting until it passes over. However, if you are running a business, like I said before, you cannot put your business on hold for the next 6 months. You've got to continue to create rhythms and momentums in order to continue to take action. And that is one of the biggest issues and problems that people are facing at the moment, whether they are conscious or unconscious of it, is that the fact that they're not doing anything. They're not doing anything about it, or they're in the flighty mode where they're constantly in a place of anxiety and fear. Now, the biggest thing that you can do to change your behavior and your physiology is to change your body language. And what you can actually do is there's some tools and techniques that I'm going to go through in a moment, but the change in your physiology will create a rapid effect and will create a rapid change in your thinking and your mood and your results in order to get clarity and certainty in your daily direction as you move forward. So let me unpack physiological response, because it's a bit of a jargon, right? So there's two ways in which the nervous system works. It works, number one, the sympathetic nervous system, and number two, the parasympathetic nervous system. And the sympathetic nervous response is actually our stress response. And the parasympathetic nervous system is responsible for our relaxation response. So here's the key, right? Here's the key that you need to know. The sympathetic response is what you would need to be able to get out of. So you need to get in control of your parasympathetic response in order to change your state, right? You need to get in charge of your parasympathetic response in order to change your state. And there's two ways you can actually do this. The first is how you use your eyes, because the reason why this is important is because most people are operating from what we call a foveal vision, and rather than a peripheral vision. Now, foveal vision is sharp, narrow vision. It's focused on one thing at a time. And you would see this when predominantly when people are playing video games, or whether or not they're focusing something on their phone. It's complete, sharp, really narrow vision, which what happens is it actually activates the sympathetic response, which is the stress response. But on the flip side, the peripheral vision puts you in parasympathetic nervous response, thus responding in a relaxation response, which is really important, especially during these times. So more and more people are commonly found operating from foveal vision because we are using more, mobile devices, our computers, laptops, even our TVs. If we're in front of the TV for long periods of time, it puts us in foveal vision, and even our environment as well. It puts us in our sympathetic nervous response. Therefore, we're increasing the automatic autopilot to switch into the sympathetic nervous system, which triggers the stress response much more quickly and rapidly. So there's a technique in NLP, neuro-linguistic programming, which is called the Hakalau, or what we call the learning state. And what this does, it actually counteracts the stress response. And I teach this in a way to all business leaders, managers, even children that are wanting to learn, or adults that have struggled concentrating or learning or focusing on one thing at a time. And what Hakalau literally means, it's derived from the Hawaiian Huna method. And what it means is to focus in and to spread your focus out. So focus in and spread your focus out. So as you are watching this, you're more likely will be in foveal vision, unless you are trained in NLP or you've worked with someone in NLP to teach you this technique. So you would more likely be in foveal vision, so narrow focus vision. So what I would want you to do is to become more and more aware of spreading your focus out, spreading your awareness out into your periphery, both horizontally and vertically. So I want you to put your awareness more and more into your peripheral, and as you begin to notice more and more, you get more and more relaxed. And you'll notice that as you spread your awareness out all the way to your left and all the way to your right, you will notice certain things, even behind you, that are behind you, all the way to your left, and even all the way to your right. And you may even notice that your breathing has slowed down. Your breathing has slowed down, and it's actually moved all the way down to your diaphragm. Can you feel that? Give me a love heart or a thumbs up so as I know that you're actually experiencing this. Now, you may even notice your feet on the ground, the carpet that's under your feet, and potentially the light that's, or the whatever is up on top of the ceiling or wherever you are, or even what is behind you at that time. Now, the more you apply this exercise and this technique, the easier it will become for you to get into peripheral very quickly. And the more you practice, the easier it becomes with anything that you do, right? And your brain loves momentum. It loves momentum. It loves constant rhythm because, as you know, where your focus goes, energy flows. And this is not some just cliche thing that that is just made up. It is actually, proven to show that where your energy flows, your focus goes. And one of these things that actually applies to this is being from in your peripheral vision. So moving from foveal into peripheral, because what foveal does, it makes it difficult to actually think about and make decisions critically because you're being triggered by reactive emotional responses. So knowing how to get into your peripheral allows you to be in a place where you can have that positive self-talk in order to make critical decisions much more effectively. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make available this technique as recording, as a guided meditation, so you can access it on a day-to-day basis to practice this every day, whether that be you're going out doing exercise, whether that be as soon as you wake up, whether that be doing it as a family exercise if you have children, to be able to get them lowering their stress response and therefore your stress response as well. You can also do this before you jump onto any meetings as well, to bring your awareness and your focus more holistically as a whole. So I encourage you to do this exercise every day to be able to get you into more relaxation response and out of your stress response. And this is a really great tool and technique to be able to use to shift and change your physiology and your focus, which has absolutely been proven to give your body the best chance of being able to defend itself from any sort of, pathogens that your immune system can potentially be susceptible. So this is something you can do with your mind. And the other thing is being conscious of your breathing, because what happens is when we're in our sympathetic response, we tend to breathe really up at the top of our chest. So doing some deep breathing on a daily basis while you're actually doing the hakulau, and slowing the breathing down and getting into more belly breathing in being able to get into a relaxation state. Now, if you would like access to this recording, simply send me a direct message with your email address and I'll send you the downloadable link. It's as easy as that. So I trust that this has been really informative for you, and let me know how you go in how you apply this, in what different aspects of your life and your current environment, and how that has actually shifted things for you. I'd love to hear from you. And until then, have a wonderful day and be bold, be brave, and have fun. And my name's Marie from The Conscious CEO. Bye for now.